Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Business and it's time to do another episode of Ships and Giggles. If you take a look at the minimap here, got teammates heading south on the 9 line, but there's a gray battleship that's very close to A, pointing this way. Sure enough, he just popped in there. It's in North Carolina, and he knows I'm here because I just capped it, but it's time to get some action going on here. So I'm gonna kind of do a few crazy things probably in this episode, and I sure as hell hope you enjoy them. But this is the YOKO edition, otherwise known as You Only Kamikaze Once. Now, I'm bowing against the North Carolina, and thankfully he didn't delete me right through the front there. Playing that game is all about just hoping that dispersion is not on the enemy side when you're in that position, because damn, you can get outright taken out like that. Just a pretty tough situation to be in as far as, you know, throwing yourself into RNG's way, but there's just no chance for that guy to survive, and naturally we lost this match quite handily. So pretty much the same position here, but now I'm in the Montana, and again, if you take a look at the minimap, and right there's an Udaloy, so I'm feeling like I'm pretty well fucked here as far as having an Amagi off to my left behind the island. There's the carrier that's just spotted to the north of me. My battleships have not supported me at all this match, and somebody said that after I said, why aren't you guys moving up, they said something along the lines of, well, they'll just get burned down. And here I am, many sectors ahead of them, still fighting for this shit, and it just blows me away that this still happens these days, but whatever. So the Udaloy's first wave of torps was wide to my left, and that's fine. I'm like, alright, well, whatever. Not really sure what to expect. And then I see the rest of them. And I'm just like, holy shit. This is absolutely perfect. I've got Daedalus that is on my team in the carrier, and somehow the Amagi just bounced everything off my side. I get the close quarters against the Udaloy because I didn't even need to bring my guns around him. And don't ask me why, but in this scenario here, I do not know what I was thinking. I'm not even bringing my guns up to this guy, and then I only fire my front 2 turrets, which I only have half the shells land. Actually, I'm sorry, 2 of the shells out of 6 land, and I didn't even fire my front or my rear turrets, and then it takes some more damage, and that comes in with the close drop and wrecks this guy. But oh man, sometimes watching my own replays, I'm just like, what the hell am I actually doing, you know? But yeah, I make mistakes like other people too, and unfortunately here's a particular match that I was not too happy with. We got the cruisers off to the right. Sir Monkey's in my division as well in his destroyer, and I believe he's in the Khabarovsk. Now, the problem here is that I can't see much of anything ahead of me here. There's multiple cruisers and possibly a destroyer in here. I wasn't really sure at the time, and there's a whole hell of a lot of torps. But there's a Kurfürst and a Montana off to my left. Now, I am lucky as hell here that I only end up taking 1 torp, which is right here. But it's keeping me broadside to these guys, and I really do not want to be in this position. And I want to be able to move forward, but I've got a great situation here as the Kurfürst comes in and cuts me down to half health. But I drop a nice 58,000 damage on the enemy Montana, and that allows us to kind of get a little going here and start moving forward against these guys. We did end up losing this, and that was my highest damage match, I think, with the Montana at 217,000 damage, at least outside of closed beta, that is. So now we're switching things over to the Tirpitz, and I'm feeling a bit aggressive here. I kind of saw an opportunity here that didn't really develop the way that I thought it would, and then all of a sudden an enemy Hatsu appears on my immediate left as I see a Colorado take another torp there to the front, so he's going to be in a pretty bad situation there as far as you know, flooding and fire damage and all that stuff. But looks like the torps from the Hatsu are coming in, and I'm starting to think, you know what, I think I might dodge this if I cut my speed just a little bit more. I'll squeeze in nice and comfortably here between his second set of torps, and now I see an opportunity that has been eluding me for quite a while, and that's a damn double strike. So I don't care if this guy's gonna burn out or flood out. I got my front turrets on him, get the kill, see if I can get the Atago here, get my rear turrets around, and yes, it's a replay bug, don't worry about it. but yes. Ah, man, I got 2 of them, and damn did that feel good. And then we switch over to some Scharnhorst action. I've fired a couple salvos and at this point in the stage in the opening minutes of the game, and obviously I haven't hit anything. And then a random ass triple citadel. Like I didn't really expect that. Actually, there's no way I could have expected that. I mean, let's be honest here. The Scharnhorst isn't really well known for its complete deletion type of abilities here, and especially at that range, that was a real surprise. But now there's a Leander, and I believe a Furutaka or an Aoba that's over here, and I'm trying to set this up for a double strike as well. I've got my secondaries on the Leander. It looks like he's going to get killed though by my teammates. I get my front 2 turrets off against the Furutaka, there we go, and my rear turrets on the Leander, the fire gets him, and I get the double strike, so yay. I've been wanting to show you guys double strikes for quite a while. It's been like a month since I actually managed to get any. And then started playing around a little bit more with the Montana, and that's a Minotaur, by the way. And I'm sorry, Compass Ghost, but that's a nice little 19,000 damage from a few shell pens. I was kind of surprised I didn't even get any overpens. It was either I missed him or it was strictly shell pens. But the follow-up here is what this is really about. Because, yeah, I'm going to take a fair amount of damage here as I move into position behind this island, but there's a Neptune going broadside here, and that's just not something you do in a British cruiser. So I get my front turrets going. I'm trying to curl around to my left and see if I can get behind this island, get the rear turrets off. That's a double sit. And there's the rest. 64,000 damage on the first 2 salvos. That's pretty damn good. And I'll trade, 20,000 HP for some of that, Now let's get into pretty much the same position, but with one of the most polarizing ships I have in my port. And I gotta say, I'm not looking forward to trying to finish this grind on the ship because it's such a pain in my ass. This is the Tier 9 German battleship, the Friedrich de Gross. If you haven't seen me play this or talk about this, it's probably for the better. So I barely get these a couple of the shells over the island here against the enemy Zao, and I am running the 406s instead of the 420s, and I get a Citadel on the Zao. Yay, great. That was my only hit on him. And I run the reload mod, so it has a 24.8 second reload, and that makes a huge difference in close quarter situations, I'll say that much. But enemy Montana shows up coming up the 2 line. Somehow, I don't do a damn thing to him. 5,400 damage, and I'm not entirely sure what the deal was there. I wasn't able to follow the shells as the Tirpitz was coming around, and I was more concerned about him. I take some damage there from the ships down to the south, but I've got my shells ready here in just a second, and thankfully this guy's shooting HE, so yeah, super high quality player right here, but managed to get another salvo off, and I'm trying to just get the hell out of here, but finish off the Montana with a quad sit, and no other shell hits on him either, so kind of interesting. Certainly a high ratio of citadels to overall shell hits, and that was kind of funny. But the real problem I have with the Friedrich is basically everything you see here. So I'm going to go ahead and be firing here against the Iowa that's coming out. He is broadside. Like, this is as good an angle as I can hope to have, really, in engaging an enemy battleship. I gotta try to take my chance and do some serious damage here against him. And again, I get a Citadel, but he's moving forward a bit. I can blame that on myself as far as not having the right lead on him and everything. And you see there, one of the turrets fired perfect dispersion, those shells hitting right there, but I don't get anything to show for it. And I did spread those out because he kept doing this throttle jockeying nonsense, and that was kind of pissing me off. But again, not the damage I'm looking for, and these are just the successive salvos, and this looks like crap dispersion, but somehow it ends up with the triple citadel. I'm like, son of a bitch. So I'm up to 9 citadels on 26 total hits, I believe, and then there's a Baltimore up to the north. I'm really just savoring this moment because it'll probably never happen again with this ship. And drop a nice 17,000 damage Citadel salvo against the Baltimore there. So less than 30 hits, but 10 Citadels. I mean, how often is that going to happen? But, the Friedrich is capable of it, but it just, in the 20 plus games I've played with it, that's the only time where at range it's done much of anything in any type of consistent manner, and even then I wouldn't even call that consistent. But so moving over to the Benson, though, this was a hell of a match. I've got Matt Q in his Kutuzov, and also we have Tyson in his newly acquired and stock North Carolina. And apparently this Fuso was surprised that Torpedo showed up when he was just going in a straight line and ended up in smoke. So as you can see in the chat, which kind of confused me. I guess he thought he was playing unpredictably in terms of his movements, but oh well, sorry. But Concealment Expert on the Benson has been a lot of fun, and I think, what is it, after firing it's like 9.7 kilometer detection or something like that, which, holy crap, that brings up like so many different possibilities here. But taking a look at the mini map, the enemy has pushed through C very comfortably. There's a whole string of enemies that are on the 8 line there. We had a bunch of our teammates end up over at D, and they didn't even manage to take it, so what a goddamn surprise, right? But I see an opportunity here as we lose 2 ships, and now we're even on points again. There's a Nuremberg and Atlanta over here, and those are shells coming in from Tideson. I just launched my damn torps, and I was hoping to possibly get a double strike there, which would have been one of the funniest double strikes I've ever had, by getting 2 beached cruisers in that position. But alas, it wasn't meant to be. But I am paying attention here now, finally, to the fact that the Nuremberg's turrets are not facing towards me at all, and I'm going to start opening up with AP. And even though this is at range, the Benson is still going to be able to do some damage to a flat broadside Nuremberg here, and I'm hoping for some Citadels, and he's going to start moving forward here. Nice dispersion there, almost 3,000 damage. But then Tideson strikes. Back-to-back salvos, back-to-back devastating strikes, and yeah, I guess that's what I get for hoping for more damage there, right? So, but all in all, it's a good thing because they're off the board immediately. We don't have to worry about their torps or their fires or anything like that. Their hydro, that's gone, and that's a huge plus. So the enemy team does have an AFK Fubuki, and even though we have a points lead here, we are losing our ships somewhat quickly. We just lost another one, and now it's our division and one other ship, Bismarck actually, and they still have a Leningrad, they still have the Fubuki, a Gneisenau, who's right there. There's a Hipper right next to him as well, and the Tirpitz up top. There's also an enemy Bismarck that's to the south there. What is that, like H5 or something like that, and he's going to be heading over towards A here in just a moment. But things aren't really looking so great for us with both of these guys coming in at us, and MacQ is burning, and unfortunately now in a bad position as far as the torps from the Gneisenau certainly being in play and us not being able to see where that Hipper is. The main goal I'm trying to achieve here is to make sure that I keep resetting the cap at C and prolonging that to be something that, they should have capped it a long time ago, but unfortunately as MacQ dies, but I need to try to make this last as long as possible and buy us time, because that is so crucial in the stage of the game like this. So I get a little bit more of a reset there on the Gneisenau, and I'm hoping that the torps, as I find the Leningrad here, who's at full health, I'm hoping that the torps make the Hipper turn to the south and open him up for Tideson up top, who hopefully at that point can dump some shells into his broadside and get him knocked out. Now, I'm anticipating torps here, I'm getting ready for it, and there's the first set, there's the second. Time to do some torpedo beats! And now it's time to beat the shit out of a Leningrad, because a Leningrad is a powerful ship. It's certainly dangerous, but that turret traverse, man, if you're in a position like this where you're going the opposite way, and you've got to turn a bit with that ship, those turrets are going to get you killed, and that is luckily exactly what happens here, as I just completely rail away on this guy and managed to get almost all of my shells to hit. I had very, very few shell misses there, which is, you know, very lucky for me. So start engaging the enemy hipper, and I am trying to do all as well as much as I can while I can, because I am anticipating that, and this is a good rule of thumb for anybody as the hipper gets taken out by Tideson. Do not anticipate AFKs to stay AFK. Always assume that they're going to show up when you least need them to, and that it is the best way to play. Because if we're playing this like, oh, the Fubuki's AFK, let's just, you know, let's go after these guys and blah blah blah, we'd probably lose this match, you know. And as the Bismarck is heading over to A, I'm trying to just get some shells on him, start a fire. Luckily, that's exactly what happens. Managed to cap B here and send Torps off to the Gneiss now. I don't know why I'm going after him, because this is a really stupid move on my part. I don't know if those Torps are going to hit. I don't have a visual to really be able to see that, and luckily they did. But the Bismarck ends up capping A, and I get over towards the Fubuki, get some damage farm there, and this is really just making sure that with just about 2 minutes remaining here, that we have enough of a points buffer to, if Tideson dies or if I die, that we can still win. And I just want to make sure that whatever the case may be, we're good. And the Bismarck comes in to be here, and he's starting to pull broadside. I am trying to make sure that I'm pulling away here, because I'm ready to pop my smoke just in case. But he opens up to Tideson, who manages to get some nice shells right in there, and he finished with 190,000 damage. I'm pretty sure that's his first North Carolina match, and it's totally stock. So, bravo, man. As a group, we kicked some serious ass there, and 27,000 XP for my captain. That was glorious. So now we're going to switch over to our last match of the day, and this is Minakaze in a Tier 7 match. And I want you to pay attention to a few things, namely the minimap and how things turn basically upside down rather, well, sort of quickly. So we just lost the Mayhem over here. Leningrad is, you know, doing some work, and there's a few other ships over here as well that I've got to watch out for. So once this Leningrad is down, however, I should be in a better position to be able to move in and possibly cap C if we have these other guys push forward. So the Leningrad goes down. We got a Congo back here, as well as the Miyoko and the Pensacola. So managed to dodge the torps from the Leningrad, and I move in. I try to starting to try to cap on A here, but there is a Mayhem, there's a Cleveland, there's a lot of ships. Let's be honest. So our Miyoko just went down, and even though I don't have him targeted there in the actual live game, I did. So yeah, stupid replay stuff. I managed to get a hit for a solid 13,000 on the front of the Cleveland there, and unfortunately, as the Congo is going behind me now, he can no longer see the Cleveland, which means I can no longer see the Cleveland. I have absolutely no idea what this guy is doing, if he's turning left or right or whatever. I know that's the front turrets firing, but he could be initiating a turn right now. I have absolutely no idea. This is such a damn dangerous situation. He just fired again, and this is something that's going to show up here again and again in this video, where by paying attention to them firing while I'm in smoke, I get a really good indication of what's happening here. So I knew he was coming forward, but I just didn't know the angle. So unfortunately, only one torp found him, and he's left at very low health. Now I've got to dodge a lot of attention, and this isn't a great situation to be in, but managed to get the kill against the Cleveland, and the Congo is running for his life as well. So what I try to do here is run as a kind of an intermediary, try to give the Congo a little bit of room, and see if I can get some torp hits here. I have to dodge the torps from the Mayhem, but I send mine out as well. The problem is that scout plane that popped up just a second ago, that was really an issue for me for a few minutes in terms of setting up. I just couldn't do anything because those torps were getting spotted by the scout plane, or I was really close to getting spotted. But for some reason, the Mayhem walks right into one. Those were pretty much panic torps. I'm not gonna lie. I just threw them out there to hopefully slow the Mayhem down so I could, buy some room for myself. But the Gneisenau now is pushing up, and he's got a pair of Texases right behind him as well. Now, I sense a very interesting opportunity here, and it's not something that I have happened to me very often. And I say that because I don't really have a lot of high damage games when it comes to destroyers. It's just one of those things that it never really seems to work out in my favor as far as doing huge damage. I tend to just go for the caps and that sort of thing, be more utility as opposed to damage. But only one rack finds the Gneisenau out there, and kind of interesting because he seems to be the one that's really paying attention here. Now, I'm firing these torps in hopes that they hit something, of course, but also because the way that these guys were coming in and converging in that area, I wanted to create some separation, because if one ship dodges them or is ahead of them and spots them, chances are everybody's going to dodge them, right? So instead of going for the Texas on the left or the Gneisenau on the right, I'm going for the guy in the middle so I can try to create some separation. And also, he seems to be kind of oblivious. So thankfully, that turns out to be the case, as he turns a little bit broadside and lets all 6 torps find their mark. Now, again, this is a situation that I should probably go for the Gneisenau, but he is engaged against the Congo that's on my team here, and that means that there's a very real possibility of him maneuvering back and forth, angling his armor to mitigate some of the incoming damage. Meanwhile, this Texas is just trying to get in the game because he hasn't really done much of anything to this point. So I launched some torps there. I'm not expecting them to hit, but what I'm anticipating here is being able to do a catapult maneuver where I pop my smoke, and this guy's going to start creeping up closer and closer to this, and I'm going to back up a bit, try to spread out my smoke a little, and my goal is to hit the ground running, basically. So by the time I hit the edge of my smoke, my torps are ready, and I'm going at 40 knots, and this guy's at basically point blank range, and there's no way he can get away. But I'm waiting for him to shoot, which is right there, and now I'm going to hit the pedal and just accelerate as fast as I can. And, it's a ship, so it does take a while, but I've got my torps ready, and the Texas has almost no secondary defense at all. It has 3 secondaries each side. So this is not a New York or a Texas that we're dealing with, or I'm sorry, a New Mexico that we're dealing with here. And I get my first 2 sets in the water and my third one as well, and this guy stands no chance whatsoever, as I only need 4 torps. Ooh, man, that felt so satisfying to have that work out, but ends up being my best damage match in the Minikaze so far. But hope you enjoyed today's matches, guys. I appreciate it, and I will try to get some more content up for you soon, get back on the regular schedule with that. But thanks for watching today, and I'll see you back here soon. Take care.